Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a good evening. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Um, Sad day. Obviously, I'm referring to what happened yesterday. I was absolutely sh- like, shocked to see that video of Charlie Kirk being shot dead at the University of Utah, especially in front of like 3,000 people, his wife and kids. The guy didn't deserve that. No matter what you think his politics, the guy didn't deserve that, right? To be assassinated. It is, and to see all these people rejoicing, you're the exact, you're the fascist at this point. You get what I mean? But history always has a way of catching up to you. You know what I mean? It's what my pal always says: be careful how you treat people on the way up, because you never know who you're going to meet on the way down. Which brings me to my video today. So a guy I know, bit of background, a guy that I was in prison with, a convicted killer, right? Who knew must think because he has a PhD, it's washed the blood off his hands. Nah, mate. You'd think with you'd think with that conviction you would be trying to humble yourself, but no, you just want to come on and basically slate a guy who was murdered on, it was all filmed, recorded, horrific images. Excuse me, horrific images. But then again, human life's cheap to you, innit? And I've got mine transgressions in the past. I'm not a convicted killer. I've not got blood in my hands. I've not got bodies on me. You know what I mean? And I have humbled myself in a lot of ways. Sometimes I can still be a bit of a prick, but it goes with the territory. But one thing I always try and do is, no matter who it is, right, unless you're completely evil, you're nuts, you're not bringing any good to the world, then if this happens to you, you probably had it coming. I gather that. But this guy was a political analyst. To be shot dead for his beliefs, nah, man. I don't give a fuck who you are or what you think, that's wrong. Yet yous are preaching all this be kind, be tolerant shit. Absolute fucking hypocrites, man. Every one of yous. And by the way, your professor, I remember her name. She works in Ivy Lodge. Because if you remember, my professor works there too. Well, my ex-professor, you know what I mean? So I know you've deleted the thread, but trust me, I was screenshotting that as I was going along, which I always do. No, for the reasons I forwarded it to show a pal of mine what you were saying. But at the end of the day, mate, you've embarrassed yourself, mate. You can keep throwing all these stats out. Fucking cost 18 billion a year, but this year it's dead. And they can't give a fuck, mate. We're living in the real world, bro. No fucking sitting in a fucking wee cushy office in some uni, getting it tight with stats. I know my stats. Fuck stats, mate. They can't give a fuck. Which brings me to this story that I'm doing today. This woman had actually contacted me to ask if she could come on my channel, right? Now, the guy that I'm talking about today, who was rejoicing at the death of the murder of Charlie Kirk, who was on comment on my channel today, this woman got in touch with me through him. So it kind of shows you the kind of circles that you're in once you take off your prison uniform and all of a sudden you've got the moral high ground because you work in a university, right? Now, I was up for getting this woman on my channel until I Googled what she was charged with. She's been on the papers and all that. At first I thought her name was like a bam up, a joke. Epi Sprung. I was like, what? What kind of name's that? Just never heard a name like that before. So I was offered getting her on the channel, right? But she said she was basically trying to control the questioning. That she's wanting to control the interview, right? And when I said, we need to obviously talk about what you were charged with, and she's like, no, I'm not talking about that. I just want to talk about how ex-cons, she's obviously trying to identify with me, like make me identify with her, whatever. You know, I'd planned to make a video about it back then, but I kind of thought, nah, fuck that. But the day I just thought, nah, know what? Let's just make one bit of content in it. So this woman, Epi Sprung, was a teacher, right, who was charged with having sex with one of her students. A bit of a fall of grace, because you'd think somebody in that position would try and lead by example. Being a teacher, secondary school teacher, I think she was in her 20s, and this boy was 16. Now, when you tell me you want to come on my channel, right, and then say, but you're not going to talk about your crimes, your convictions, then there is nothing more to talk about. And to be fair, I do think I went into a bit of a rant on the phone call, because I was basically trying to turn her off for speaking to me. No pun intended. But the absolute inverted fucking mentality of this is nuts to me, because imagine this was a guy, right? So I want to kind of pull up some of the news stuff, right? So book squirm, shamed teacher caught romping with Scots school pupil, pens children book about past mistakes. How do you say that? See, like this headline, look, a sex crime is a past mistake. The Scottish Sun. Well, right. So look, I've just got to read it out, right? So it comes after she whinged about not being invited to children's birthday parties due to her sex conviction. No offence, but you can kind of see why families wouldn't want you around their kids, because they don't know if you're going to drag one of them in the toilet and fucking molest them like this. Obviously, well, 17-year-old, right? So I remember when I was 17, you're above the legal age, but for somebody that's a teacher, it's just conduct unbecoming. So here we go, right? A teacher who was struck off for having sex with a male pupil has written a children's book about past mistakes. Epi Sprung was caught romping with the 17-year-old in a lay-by in 2012. This must be her here. And this is her there. And this is the book here with you. Oh, look, she has now written a children's book about how parents can explain their convictions to their kids. Bit funky, mate. They were caught by cops after another pupil saw them leaving a school dance together. After being found half naked with the pupil, Sprung pleaded guilty and was added to handed. Who writes these fucking things? Who writes these things, man? This does my boxing. I really can't tell you how much that annoys me. There's no proof what the fuck's happening. Anyway, right? Because it throws me off, I know. Right, so anyway, where were we? After being found half naked with the pupil, Sprung pleaded guilty and was, we'll call, handed a 6-month community payback order and was added to the sex offenders register. The shamed miss also lost her job as an English teacher at St Joseph's College in Dumfries after she was struck off. The disgraced ex-teacher has now penned a children's book to help parents talk about their criminal past and convictions with their kids. Well, Larry fucking da. Sprung 39. I'm assuming she wasn't 39 when she done this. Right. Published here with you, which is about two bears. Now, I like bears. In it, the adult bear has to tell the child bear about the bad choices which will still impact their life. The front cover features an adult and child bear sitting in a boat while holding a lantern. In a blog post, she told how she feared her shameful crime will impact her kids and how they will inevitably find out about her sex offender status. It's called taking responsibility, mate. The post, titled "Not a Monster," Mum, read, "Their friends are going to talk about it behind their backs. People are going to ostracize them. They'll probably question who I really am and whether the feelings of safety I instill in them are actually some sort of lie. Society will tell them I'm a monster. The long, long shadow of the poor choices I made back then will likely continue to impact on my children long into adulthood." Don't be a beast then. It added, "I realised long before my daughter was even conceived that I was going to have to handle talking to my children about my conviction very carefully." She went on to say, "The very first thing I did was look for storybooks that would help me to have this conversation." This is mind-boggling to me, but whatever, do you know what I mean? Like, if it helps, it helps. I wanted to find a book that would let me draw parallels with the characters and provide me with some age-appropriate language. I think that's Major using that terminology, age-appropriate, given that you slept with one of your 17-year-old students. The contradiction is stark. Anyway, don't even get me started on how on earth... Oh, fuck's sake, I'm getting ahead of myself now. Don't even get me started on how on earth you find the age-appropriate words to tell a 4-year-old that you were caught having sex in a car. Why do you need to tell a 4-year-old that? Maybe this is part of the problem. Do you know what I mean? See, any sexual discussion with a 4-year-old is totally taboo. Even your own kids. My kid's 14 and I've still not even spoke to him about this shit yet. Anyway, we're all different. I found wonderful books aimed at children with a parent in prison and books for children who have seen a parent be arrested, but nothing that suited my circumstances. Well, is that surprising? So I put pen to paper and here with you is my attempt to fill that gap. The story centres around the conversation between two bears, a parent and a child, in which the parent tells the child about choices from their past that are still impacting on their lives today. The child asks questions and the parent answers as best they can. So we told how Sprung secured £7,000 of public funding to set up a new venture in 2023. She started Next Chapter Scotland, a website aiming to support people with criminal records. Sprung was handed a 6-month community payback order after admitting to breach of trust in court in 2013. Breach of trust? Is that a charge? I've never even heard of that. She was found unfit to teach by a disciplinary panel, consenting to be removed from the register for a minimum of 2 years. I thought it was going to say fucking unfit to plead. I know a wee bit about that, no? Kid man. Sprung later divorced her husband and moved in with the pupil before they split up in 2015. Fuck me, man. She also underwent a compulsory course of psychosexual counselling. Now, imagine this was a man, right? Imagine this was a male teacher. What would be said? What would be said if this guy who'd slept with a 17-year-old lassie that he was teaching, he'd slept with her and then wrote a book about how he'd made a past mistake? Like, the guy would be fucking hounded beyond belief. And I find that mad that so many women, they shout all this equal rights and shit, and then they want equal rights in all arenas of life until they're in a courtroom. Then they're playing the female card. But look at this one, right? Radio Moan. Last year, Sprung called into BBC Radio Scotland to whinge about the stigma. She said, I have a conviction for a sexual offence. I was a teacher and I had an affair with a 17-year-old pupil. So I do have experience of kind of living with the challenges that a person can face as a result of having a criminal record. I never experienced custodial sentence, but I certainly did experience stigma, rightfully so. This is somebody's 17-year-old son we're talking about, and if this was my son, I would be absolutely fucking livid if this was one of his teachers. That is just a double breach of trust. Do you know what I mean? It's an adult, and then you're one of his teachers. Do you know what I mean? I had an exceptionally large amount of press coverage, media coverage for many, many years following my conviction. Well, you want to stay in the public eye with making all these charities and fucking this and that. So, mate, I'm the same. Like, I'm on YouTube, so, and had a bit of media, not anything the extent of this lassie, but had a wee bit of media attention a long time ago. And do you know what? You've been in, see, once you've been in jail, man, you've not got a leg to stand on. That's it, mate. Do you know what I mean? I think that I would say that this was the most difficult thing I experienced, but I mean, of course, as with people with a conviction for a sexual offence, particularly, face the highest degree of stigma, so they should. And so things like employment, even things like not being invited to my daughter's friends' birthday parties, well, what can you say, man? You don't fucking go about, like, I would feel seriously uncomfortable having somebody like that run my son. So I kind of get where they're coming from. Do you know what I mean? But this was an interesting one. So this is from the actual this is the name of the, what do you call it? So the charity that this woman Epi Sprung has formed, Next Chapter Scotland. In my opinion, these organisations cherry pick what offenders that they help, and that's good if it's helping people, but I believe that, I don't want to even say this, right, but I'm sure they work with beasts. I'm not sure, but I'm sure I read that when she got in contact with me a few months ago. So this was written by her. Like, the, do you know, it just jumps out at me, self-pity, man. The following is a reproduction of a blog written by the chair of a blog back in 2018, so Epi Sprung. Let me come right out and say it. Having sex with a 17-year-old school pupil when you're their teacher is completely unacceptable, morally, professionally, ethically. You'll not hear me argue that point. Sounds like that's exactly what you're arguing about. But I do have to admit that after 6 years of being slut-shamed by the tabloid press, I now feel justified in saying it's gone too far. Typically speaking, the tabloid press deal with female offenders in one of two ways. Either they've lost their minds or they're wicked. We never hear the whole story, and we are never provided with a balanced picture. These representations generally relate to the fact that the offender in question has, by breaking the law, defied one of the many female gender stereotypes our society holds so dear, because the perpetrator of crime is no longer subservient to society. Oh, fucking hell, man, this is a hoot. Throw sexual misconduct into the mix, and it's suddenly as if everything that our male, hetero, white-centered society is built upon might collapse at any second if the woman in question isn't well and truly made an example of. You call a 6-month community payback order made an example of? Wow, man. Poor you. As the option of a Game of Thrones public shaming isn't practical, who better than our nation's tabloid editors to take responsibility for holding this woman to account? And of course, if the woman in question just happens to be young and blonde, Why miss the opportunity to sexualise every element of her life for the gratification of your readers? After all, she did have sex. She's practically asking for it. Wow, man. Wow, the self-pity. Like, I'm not going to lie, I don't even want to read the rest of this. Like, what more can I say? Fucking pity party, man. Do you know what I mean? Fucking end of the day, mate, deal with it. If that was my child, like, you wouldn't hear the end of me. Like, that's not like I'm not trying to, like, that's not a threat or anything. I'm just saying, if anybody done that to my child, then there would be hell to pay. And ask yourself a question. You have, I think it just says you have a child or two children now. What if that was your child? Ask yourself, how would you feel? That's the yardstick I try and use. How would I feel? You know what I mean? But know what? Fuck it. There's not much more I can say to that. But anyway, I hope that rant was entertaining. Hope you all have a good night. I might bounce on to a wee live night. I don't know. And if I don't, I'll come on tomorrow. I might be got to class tonight, but I'm not going. My legs are still killing me, man. Getting old. But anyway, have a good night. Take care. Thanks for watching.